Hello and welcome to your Giant Bomb quick look for Age of Empires 4, the fourth Age of Empires game. It only took, 15 years or something? But they did it. They did it. Well, they didn't. Relic did it. Relic has taken over this franchise for Age of Empires 4, and in so doing have created a game that is quite similar to Age of Empires 2, but obviously is in 3D, like 3, but plays much closer to 2, which is, traditionally the sort of the best and brightest of the Age of Empires franchise. If you are new to AoE, there's probably a lot here to talk about. If you are somebody who, like myself, has been enjoying the definitive edition versions of these games that Microsoft has put out over the past few years, then this sticks very closely to that format, specifically the playing of Age of Empires 2. A lot of the stuff in terms of that they've added in terms of just general playability or training or the way multiplayer works or the way skirmishes work, it's all fairly similar to AoE 2 DE. But Relic have added in a couple of extra pieces of flair here that I also want to highlight. So for the basics, and I'm at risk of doing my best Brad Shoemaker here and spending 40 minutes in the menus, I'll try my best to get into the action as quickly as I can, but for due diligence sake, the game is split into your single and multiplayer. Multiplayer is pretty standard. You can play against other people, you can play against AI, you can mix and match that in whatever way you see fit. They have a decent spectator system here as well. Pretty quiet at the moment because this is pre-release. Single player is split up into 3 sections. There is the campaign, there is the skirmish mode, and then there is a training section called Art of War. They have done a lot of work on the definitive editions to add this sort of stuff to those games too, so it should be pretty familiar if you've played those. The campaign, these are single player, story-led missions based on real world events, battles, and also following sort of different eras of military combat. Basically there's 4 on offer here. There's the Norman one, which sort of concerns itself with William of Normandy and his progeny, starts at the Battle of Hastings and makes its way through. There's the 100 Years' War, played from the French perspective. There is the Genghis Khan focused Mongol Empire, and then there is the Rise of Moscow, which I think is set in 14th century Russia. My Russian history is pretty terrible. So these are the place where most of the production work has probably been done. They have these beautiful video vignettes before each battle. They do a lot of work to sort of teach you how to play the game while they're telling a story. And if you are new to this series, this may be your first port of call. The Act of War, like I said, is a little sort of training section which will teach you stuff like how to spend your early economy, what get your villagers to do, the sort of do's and don't do's of placing, your places to harvest things, placing your logging camps, what you should have your villagers doing, all that, to more tech tree late economy stuff, the basics of combat, and then sort of once you're in fights around cities, how they all work. And then the skirmishes, again, like definitive edition for 1, 2, and 3, these are just like sandbox mode. They have a couple of presets here, I guess, just to help you along if you're new, I guess. But most of the settings, I don't want to say most, some of the settings from definitive editions are in here, but there's some notable exceptions. Like, for instance, if you set up there's fewer maps. First of all, there's only, I think, 17 map options. There are going to be community maps, but they haven't been added in yet. But even if you pick one of these maps, you are restricted. The player slots are restricted to the size of the map, which wasn't the case before. You could actually cram, like, I think it was higher than 8 as well, but you could cram like 8 people on a micro map, but they won't let you do that now. Which kind of makes sense, maybe, if you're programming this video game, but just kind of sucks. You can't use the biome, though, for every map, so that's pretty cool. One of the things about this game which people should know as well is that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different civilizations in it, which is fewer than your standard AoE experience, but I will say that 6 of them play kind of similar to if you played Age of Empires before, and then I mean the big crazy ones. I have not spent much time with the Delhi Sultanate or the Abbasid dynasty, but the biggest one that's different to me so far, I spent a bunch of time with, are the Mongols, which play totally different to any other Age of Empires Civ, in that all of their buildings can be packed up and moved, including the town center. So you basically, you know, much like the nomadic people of the Mongolian Empire, you, especially in the larger maps, can just up your whole, you know, everything from your stables to your place where you collect food. They don't have farms because they're nomadic, so they have these sort of they're like sheep generating buildings that just like sheep pop out of them and then you murder the sheep. But it's really cool. It's something that like I have been playing in skirmish mode and I suck at it because I don't really know how to play them yet. But it's one of the ways in which, as somebody who's played, you know, I don't know, over 100 hours of Age of Empires 2, Definitive Edition, probably closer to like 200 or 300 hours. It's one of the ways in which this game feels new. And the other one is the way in which they present these fairly standard campaigns, I would say. Like, it feels like a campaign from an old Age of Empires game, but the presentation around them and the videos that they do and all that stuff are really cool. So I'm just going to jump into one so you can check it out.
At the Battle of Hastings, the death of one man changed the course of history. The Anglo-Saxon King Harold was killed here, on England's south coast. His army defeated by William of Normandy. Anglo-Saxon rule was over forever.
Well, hey! Brits out, as we say back home.
Westminster Abbey on Christmas Day 1066. William was crowned the first Norman king of England.
Look at that, the Bayeux Tapestry.
Now he had to secure power across the country. He began by stamping his mark on the landscape, building cathedrals and castles at strategic locations.
So it might just be because I'm a documentary nut, but I love how this stuff is produced.
Nothing like them had been seen in England before. They reminded the Anglo-Saxon population exactly who was in charge.
And I'm from like a medieval town. I'm from a Viking town, so like I'm used to seeing all this shit.
But not all
So maybe that's why
living under Norman rule.
I dig it so much. But
Anglo-Saxon revolts
the
broke
way they
out across
depict the
country.
York stuff here is super interesting.
King William acted quickly to crush these rebellions. But there was one region where dissent was spiraling out of control. The north of England.
The North. The North.
In 1069, a group of lords from Northumbria formed an alliance with Viking
Look at that guy.
invaders.
I'm going to be on the TV.
Together they approached Norman-held York, a large city with an important cathedral, still protected by ancient Roman walls.
Cyclists.
But the walls couldn't save York.
It's this stuff is so
The city
cool.
and the castle fell to the rebels. William's new kingdom was under threat. He had to get the city back under Norman control. William had no choice but to order his men north.
Like, I think it does a really good job of steeping history in the present day, you know?
Norman forces set off on their long
In the
march
terrain.
towards York, how much resistance from the rebels would they encounter?
So I'm just gonna, you can hit skip. That was the end of it there anyway. But you can skip them. I wish they'd playback controls on those because there's actually quite a lot of these videos. You unlock more of them when you complete a level as well, and they're really well put together. And like some of them are, like I said, they just unlock a library of them, so you wouldn't come across them unless you went looking for them. But they're really well done. So I'm not going to spend too long in this section because there's going to be a lot of her talking. Because these are kind of like extended tutorials, like especially the early levels in these. Kind of teach you how to play the game.
William the Conqueror marched north with his army of Normans determined to take back the rebel-held city of York. But in his path stood rebel towns that harbored William's northern enemies.
Don't worry, we're going to fuck them up.
He would take the towns back by force.
Alright, so the general combat of these games is a sort of rock, paper, scissors of cavalry, foot soldiers, and archers. Cavalry are good at fucking up archers. Archers are good at fucking up basically everyone as long as no one's attacking them. Foot soldiers are kind of there to keep people from attacking the archers. They're kind of just there to be a bit of a shield. I mean, that's a very like stupid simplistic way of explaining it, but a lot of these early levels are kind of there to teach you like what you should be doing, like splitting up your horses a bit and having them go for the archers. Oh, maybe not all of them. You also have this this King Willem here who he can buff everyone with this attack speed buff. It's like a special character. Alright, keep going guys, keep going. Okay, we're not done sacking. I'll tell you when we're done sacking. The town of Middlethorpe. Can't say I've heard of it, but maybe that's because of what's happening here. Oh my god, look! The workers, the villagers we just won over are now attacking their former landloaders.
Reinforcements to his armies soon arriving. William would need more resources to supply them.
Alright, let's get you guys out of there. So, the game is basically transitioning from this was you know, doing some basic combat on the march to now you have to build up your economy a little bit. And go get to farming. So up in the top left here, they've built 4 additional farms, assign 5 villagers to chop wood, which we'll do here by just creating 5 villagers and sending them over there. And then we'll get you 2 to make some houses. The hotkeys are basically the same. They change a little bit. Because down here in the bottom you can see these are your sort of age 1 buildings, and then the age 2 buildings here will appear. And you've got a market, the blacksmith, stable, and the archery range. And the way in which you go up through the ages is also slightly different, where you have this button here to advance to feudal age, which they might have locked out in this this mode actually. But you basically use that, and then what it does is it gives you a selection of 2 buildings to build, special units, basically special buildings that will get you to the next stage, which isn't exactly like it's a slight deviation from how the game worked before. One of the coolest things in this game is that the mills will now allow you to build 8 farms. I know, right? If this is the real test of whether or not you play Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition, as whether or not you give a flying fuck about this, but you can now build farms the entire way around it. There's no like weird missing section of the farm that you now have to figure out, you know, how to min-max your farm placement. You can just have 9 beautiful farms all around. Alright, 4 farms, 5 villagers, 1 more, and we'll have completed our little mini mission here, and I'm sure then they're going to send us off to battle some more Avants. One of the things I found in this game, which has really stood out to me actually, is the sound design is terrific. If you're in a battle, depending on like how many people are in the battle or the intensity of it, or if you're winning or losing, I think you can really hear like the sound of the army. I've also had it where if you have a scout out and around in the map, they'll whistle at you if they see something, which I don't remember from the old games. So you'll just kind of get a little, and I'll be like, what? And then I'll look on the map and they'll have seen someone go past them, and I thought that was pretty cool. Oh, 1 more farm. My bad. So let's do that. There we go. And that should do it. The detail's quite nice. All of the, you know, different civilizations have their own look to stuff. It's 3D, but it feels grid-based. Like all of these roads sort of get dynamically made.
But it would take a sustained effort to keep the army at full strength.
Like stuff like this bucket and washing line just happen if you build in a certain spot. You'll see like the ground change height. Like there's a sort of a topography to it, which is quite cool. Oh, fuck these guys up. But while Age of Empires 3 was 3D, like kind of capital 3D as it were, and could get a little bit messy, kind of didn't feel as slick as 2 did. I think that was a big reason why people didn't like 3 as much, was that there's a simplicity to the look and feel of the isometric graphics from 2. But, you know, while 4 is 3D and you can, like, rotate the camera and stuff here, right? Like, I haven't done it much, but is there... I think there's a button. Is it Alt? Yeah, so you can do it. But, like, it feels like a grid when you're playing it. Just a bit more dynamic. Like, there are, you know, high parts of the battlefield that you can sort of utilize and stuff like that. So I'm into it. I like the feel of it. It feels like a higher production value version of 2. I'll say that. Send those guys in. So I guess the question is, why would you play this over 2? Because it does feel different to 2. It feels more intimate. Like, I'm not sure if it's because of the detail or because maybe there's more micro happening here. Like, I do feel like I'm having to do more micro in the... Look at this fucking sheep that's joined their army. Yeah, you can join in, whatever. Come on, sheep. You can join in. Every army needs a sheep. It's like an American football team or something. Our lucky fucking sheep is coming to battle with us. So like I said, yeah, the intimate... I'm not sure if there's more micro required. I've kind of felt that, but also I've been doing probably a bit more combat in these missions than I usually would in skirmish mode. Or maybe I'm just pre-learning it, so it feels like it's new. We're gonna go around your walls here, motherfuckers. Go right for you. Straight for the archers. Go in and get those archers, cavalry. Oh, hopefully I have enough. Go kill those ones. Go kill those ones. Get in there. These guys are loitering. I'll say the pathfinding and some of the like battle, like where people end up going, hasn't been terrific. Like they do tend to do the stupid Age of Empires things of getting hitched up on stuff or just like randomly start burning down a building while there's people attacking them for no reason. It would have been nice for some of that to have been sort of tidied up, but you know, I've been playing so much Age of Empires over the past few years that I'm not the person to like compare this game to other strategy games because I basically only play AoE.
With the Fulford rebels eliminated, William was one step closer to York.
One nice thing is that just some nice housekeeping stuff. Like if you set people to work on farms, they will split up the work between themselves.
In the city, William prepared to bolster his cavalry.
Where's my... Get more cavalry. Alright, so listen, we're eventually going to go up here and attack York. This takes a little bit. I've done this mission before, so it takes a little while, so I'm not going to do the whole thing here. We'll build you a lumber camp. I'm sorry. You build your lumber camp there. But yeah, like this is how the campaign sort of works. It's a lot of these types of missions. It can take anywhere between, you know, an hour or 2 hours, that type of thing. You can save mid-mission, of course, so you can come back to any of these anytime. Yeah, it's kind of standard Age of Empires fare, to be honest. You know, it's a campaign that teaches you how to play the game and is well crafted. But I do really like the production on it. And I think the voiceover and all that stuff is really well done too. Let's jump into a quick skirmish. I don't want to overdo it, but let me just show you how the Mongols work, because I think that's one of the more interesting things. So let's go up against the Holy Romans, the Mongols. It's still on easy, so they don't immediately come for me. And we're not going to be on the same team. Well, we couldn't be anyway, but let's just do that. And what is this? A rugged mountainous area that creates many choke points. Let's see what... Maybe there's another interesting map here. I haven't seen much water, actually. So let me do Warring Islands. Although the Mongolians are really going to fucking hate that. Let's not do that. Let's do this one. I usually play on like fairly water-heavy maps because I just enjoy setting my economy to fishing, but you know, I haven't seen many of those yet, so let's jump into this one. I will say that I do spend less... I feel like I'm spending less time doing just managing farms or berries or trying to find new places to mine. It seems like the mining things are lasting longer, maybe. I'm going to wait for all my favorite Age of Empires YouTubers to figure all that out for me, but it seems at least that everything's just kind of scoped down a little bit more, which, you know, it's a bit more intimate, which I quite like. So this is your Mongol town center, which basically can go anywhere. So you kind of want to stick it between the wood and the berries. But what is... Oh, you know what? I actually don't. I just want to stick it next to the wood, because there's that other thing. So there's a couple of unique buildings for the Mongols. One of them is this thing called a gur, which is basically where you drop off wood or gold or food. It kind of works as a one-stop shop for all that sort of stuff. Generally, you know, with a lot of the other ones, you would have to have had, you know, like a lumber camp for wood, or, you know, we're actually going to go for the sheep first of all, because you get more meat off those, or at least you do it too. I'm not sure if you do anymore. They also have a special building that's just for the stone here. I'm going to set you guys to do wood, actually. I can't afford it yet, I don't think. It's called the ovo, but it basically just sits on the stone and it automatically collects the stone, which is quite cool. We'll get them working on the stone over there. But even this thing can be packed up. So all of the Mongolians' stuff can be packed up, and you can, you know, move your entire city. Usually in Age of Empires, what you do is you'd build like a sort of a second city, and sometimes you'd move your citizens. You know, generally just make more of them, because by that stage your economy is decent enough to do that. But in this, you can just move the whole civilization, which is pretty, you know, different for AoE. So I'm very interested in how people are going to utilize that online and, you know, find sort of weird ways of exploiting it. Oh man, this is like a... I can't get into this water. There's fish down there on the map, so you can somewhere. So that's probably here, is it? Come over that way. These fish are so... These fucking sheep are so slow. They're much faster if you send a scout with them, but for now they're just going to sit there. So one of the units, actually... I'm going to build this... this ovo, so you see what it looks like. But one of the buildings they use, because obviously the Mongolians didn't use farms because they were nomadic, so what they have is these things called pastures, which create sheep, which you then kill. So you just... They just like they're kind of like little teleporters that spit sheep out, so you can murder them. These sheep just keep turning up. Okay, so this thing over here is just going to collect stone for a while on its own, which is pretty neat. You see in the bottom left here. If you're new to Age of Empires, food, stone, gold. Sorry, food, wood, stone, gold are the four most important things. And then the Mongols also don't have a population cap, and they also don't have houses. So if you are one of the people who hate having to build houses over and over and over again in Age of Empires because your army is getting so big, well then play as the Mongols, because you'll never have to do it again. Kill that wolf. Yeah, I don't know if I can access any of the water in this weird map, but I'm probably not going to spend too long here anyway. So this, like I said, I could just build one of these little gurs, and it would update, it would upgrade the. Let's keep the people getting made here. And the lumber. Oh, there's stuff over there. Okay, I'm not sure. Did the Mongols have any fucking? The Mongols are probably like champion fishermen I just never knew about. But let's just do this. It's gonna be a tiny little spit of water out here. But I've not done much water stuff since I started playing this game, so I'll dip it in. So I don't know if this is going to end up being my Age of Empires game, like, because I really enjoyed 2, and I'm used to 2 because I played so much of 2. But there's nothing about this that's pushing me away, which I feel like I did have a lot with 3 and Age of Mythology, and, you know, games like Rise of Nations, which I came to like, but they just didn't tick the box the same way. They didn't feel... I don't know, just I didn't like spending hours and hours in them, which is ultimately what these games are about. Like, it must be a nightmare in terms of usability. Like, if you're creating one of these games... Oh, you can just fish? Okay, they can just fish too. That's cool. So this one's just using nets. Alright, I'll send you out to there then. Yeah, so I don't know, because I think it looks really good. I mean, it looks good. It doesn't look... I also don't think it looks incredible. You know, it's not a creative assembly game, right, where you're just like turning the UI off so you can look at these amazing, massive scale battles. It's not that either. But I feel like if they I bet if they just created a more detailed game at a certain point, it starts to just look too busy and too, you know, hard to read or something. You know, the part of the reason Age of Empires 2 ends up having such a massive lineage and is such an important game is because of that simplicity. It just kind of works. You know, it's like SimCity 2000 or something. There's a reason why some of those games, some of those early games end up being the defining game in that series, because they're just kind of, they're not over egging the pudding. But I've really enjoyed learning the Mongols. Can I pick up this fishing thing? No, the fishing thing cannot be packed. Okay. But everything else can. This thing also can't, but everything else can. Let me build one more thing. I can build a stable, and that can get packed, which is pretty cool. Oh yeah, and then let me show you how the ages work. So the ages now have, like I said, you basically pick between two special units, which isn't like a million miles away from how some of the age advancements work, especially with regards to like the castle for the castle age in 2 or stuff like that. And you know, oftentimes you would have special buildings, but in this one it straight up asks you which of these two do you want. What I actually really want more than anything else though is gold. How many wood people do I have? Alright, some of you come over here. We're gonna set up a gur over here. And then we're gonna get some gold. But yeah, like, you know, it's still berry bushes and still wood, and you know, even these fish look the same, and the darkness of the water, and there's birds flying over them. Like, it's, anyone who's played Age of Empires 2 will be able to pick this up immediately and understand 95% of how it works. So perhaps this is for people who didn't play Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition for some reason, or maybe they're younger and they never played AoE 2, so they didn't feel the need to play this, you know, new version of an old game or whatever. I love these paths. They're so cool. They do a lot of that little flavor, just adding in like I showed you the little water bucket clothesline earlier. I'm trying to think of what else there is to show you in Age of Empires 4, but that's pretty much it. It's a what's the best way of putting this? It's definitely like a love letter to Age of Empires 2. It's definitely made for people who loved Age of Empires 2. It does a lot of work to round off the edges of that game, but also so did Definitive Edition. So if you've not played DE, then and you haven't played an Age of Empires since 3, back in 2005, I think it was, then you should absolutely 100% check this out. The specific flavor that AoE... Look at these fuckers stealing all these sheep. The specific flavor of like city builder slash slash you know, light combat game that Age of Empires does is like it's a cool type of strategy game which I feel many other games don't do, right? It's not a city builder game like City Skylines. It's not a fully fledged deep, you know, combat or combat strategy game, real-time strategy game like what you get out of a Creative Assembly, right? To me, it has always struck a balance where I'm kind of bad at both of those, but I feel like I can enjoy this game because of the balance that it does. There's my sheep generating nightmare. It's like fucking Xenobites just like transporting sheep in so I can kill them. I think we can do our upgrade now. We have enough gold. Let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to get all my food makers to do it, which you should never do. So the two they have are, when set up, deer stones provide the yam speed aura. And then this one acts as a market. Can build traders 50% faster and a 50% reduced gold cost. Let's go for yam technology. I've always been a yam technologist. We'll have them do that. I love the little gold builders they have here, kind of like in those video vignettes. It's really neat. And that's it. Age of Empires 4. It's hard to do a quick look of these games. Kind of want to sit down and play it for 5 hours to show you how it works, but I feel like if you were going to buy this game, you kind of know what it is. It's Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition with slicker graphics, you know, some interesting new civs, a bit more restrictive in other ways, and a fun new campaign. You know, if you've burned out on all the old campaigns or you've not played enough of those games, then you'll get a lot out of playing the 4 campaigns that are available here. I also hope that once they add in the community support stuff, we start to get a bit more wacky with the levels and hopefully the mods as well. Mod support on the definitive editions is pretty solid. But we'll have to wait and see. Let's check out my deer stones. Almost done. And then I'll be in my second age. With a really terrible economy. Look how badly this has been run. Come on, do a little poop. Do a little poof. So I feel good. Give me that. Give me that Skinner box feel. Poof. Deer stones. Ooh. A new age has begun. Awesome. Everyone's happy. Alright. Thanks so much for watching. And for more quick looks, stay tuned to giantbomb.com.